Hello everybody, I'm here to bring you another story from my channel, What If, where we look at alternate histories, alternate possibilities in fiction. Today, we're looking at a what-if scenario from Death Note. What if light destroyed the Death Note? We'll find out right now. Interesting story. If you guys want to see more what-if scenarios from Death Note, let me know in the comments below. But before we get started, let me go ahead and give you guys a reminder. I don't care if you're watching it on your phone, on your laptop, watching it on your TV. Let's get into the story now. Nier had been on the case for months, maybe even years at this point. He didn't really keep track anymore. His only focus was catching Kira, whoever Kira was, and putting an end to all of this. But he wasn't close, not even close. L had been much further ahead than he was, and he had failed. Mello was also looking for Kira, but he had gone off on his own, after realizing that working with Nier wasn't how he wanted to do things. One night, Nier was writing some notes, something that had caught his attention. He had found a small detail in one of the crime scenes that didn't add up, something that he couldn't quite put his finger on. But he knew there had to be something there. It was something about the victims, something about their eyes. He could feel it. He pulled up files of every victim that they had, and began going through each of them, looking for the similarities. It took him hours, but he eventually found what he was looking for. The eyes. All of the victims had the same exact look in their eyes when they were found. A look of complete and utter shock. Nier had seen this before. Actually, during one of the investigations. He had been reviewing footage of one of the deaths, and he had paused it on the victim's face, taking a screenshot of the image so that he could pull it up later. But he had been interrupted, and never got to look at it again. He brought up the photo on his computer, and began zooming in on the eye. Could it be? Was this really what he thought it was? No, it couldn't be. There was no way. But the more he looked at it, the more it made sense. These people hadn't died by Kira's hand. They had died by Light's hand. He had known it all along. Kira had been Light all along. But why did Light kill these people? Sure, they were criminals, but they weren't criminals anymore. They were dead. Why did Light kill them? He had written their names into a book. Yes, but he had killed them without writing their names in a book. How? Nier didn't know, but he was going to find out. He needed to get to Light. He called over one of the other members of his task force. He told him to grab his coat and get ready, because they were going somewhere. They arrived at the Yatsuba residence, and Nier knocked on the door. Light opened it, and he invited them inside. Nier's eyes narrowed. This guy really was Kira. He could feel it. The two sat down at the table, and Nier explained to Light why he was there. Light, of course, denied everything, but Nier wasn't having it. He had proof. He pulled up the photos of the victims on his laptop and pointed to the screen. Light's face drained of color. He tried to speak, but no words came out. Nier was right. He had killed these people. But how did Nier find out? Light panicked. He had covered his tracks well, or so he thought. Had he been sloppy? Did Light make a mistake? He needed to think. He needed to figure out how Nier figured it out. Then it hit him. The eyes, he had never thought of that. When he killed those people, he had been so focused on killing them, that he never thought about how their eyes would look. Of course, Nier had noticed. Nier had always noticed. Light had been careless. He had made a mistake. But Light was still quick on his feet. He knew what he had to do. He stood up abruptly, and he told Nier that he had to use the bathroom. Nier knew what he was doing. He stood up as well, blocking Light's path. Light pushed past him, and headed to the bathroom. He locked himself inside, and he began thinking. He had to destroy the Death Note. That was the most important thing. He couldn't let Nier get his hands on it. He had to destroy it. He needed to get out of there. He needed to destroy it. Now he made his way back to the front door. He opened it, and he stepped outside. Nier was waiting for him. Light could see the determination on his face. Light ran. He ran as fast as he could, dodging people and jumping over bushes. He could hear Nier calling after him, but he kept running. He had to get away. He had to get to the Death Note. He broke into his house and made his way to his desk where the Death Note was sitting. He reached for it, but his fingers brushed against something else. He looked down and saw his apple. He picked it up and looked at it for a moment. It reminded him of the first time he had used the Death Note. He had been so angry that day. He had been so angry when he killed that detective. But then he realized that it didn't feel good. Killing someone didn't feel good, no matter who they were. Light looked back at the Death Note. He picked it up and began to flip through it. He stopped at a random page and began writing. He wrote the name of that detective, the first detective that he had killed. He wrote it in the Death Note, But he didn't feel anything. He felt nothing. He tossed the book onto the desk and punched it. It fell to the floor and landed on the apple. The apple rolled off the desk and fell to the ground. Light watched as it bounced on the hardwood floor. He walked over to it and picked it up. He took a bite out of it. Light closed his eyes and sighed. He looked at the death note on the floor and smiled. He laughed to himself. He had come so far only to destroy it all. In the end, it hadn't been worth it. None of it had been worth it. He stepped on the death note, crushing it under his shoe. He ripped it in half and threw the pieces into the fireplace. He had to make sure it was destroyed. He had to make sure that there was nothing left. He burned it until it was nothing but ashes. He walked back over to the window and looked out at the city. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but he didn't care. He was done playing God. He was done being Kira. He was just Light Yagami. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments below. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't like it, leave a like and check out my other videos. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.